You walk into a room and something changes. People turn, opportunities appear. Doors open that were closed to others. It's not your clothes, your credentials, or your connections, it's something invisible, something radiating from within. The ancients called it presence. The mystics called it magnetism. But the truth is simpler and more powerful. It's your aura. And once you learn to master it, you become unstoppable. Good evening. I want to talk with you today about something that most people never stop to consider, yet it determines nearly everything that happens to them in life. It's not education, though education is valuable. It's not talent, though talent certainly helps. It's not even hard work, though without hard work, nothing worthwhile is ever achieved. What I'm talking about is something far more fundamental, far more powerful, and far more immediate. I'm talking about your aura, the invisible field of energy that surrounds you, that precedes you into every room, every conversation, every opportunity. Now, before you dismiss this as mystical nonsense, let me assure you this is as real and as practical as the air you breathe. You've experienced it yourself 1,000 times. You've met someone and instantly felt drawn to them or repelled. You've walked into a room and sensed tension or warmth or hostility without a single word being spoken. You've known people who seem to attract success effortlessly, while others equally talented struggle in obscurity. Why? Because success, influence, and opportunity are not merely the result of what you do. They are the result of what you are. And what you are is constantly broadcasting silently, invisibly, powerfully to everyone around you. Your aura is nothing more and nothing less than the energy you radiate. It is the sum total of your dominant thoughts, your deepest beliefs, your habitual emotions, and your consistent actions, all projected outward in a field that others feel, even if they can't see it. And here's the secret: you are in complete control of it. Let me explain. Most people live their lives unconsciously. They wake up, react to circumstances, absorb whatever thoughts and emotions the world throws at them, and wonder why life feels so random, so difficult, so unjust. They blame their circumstances. They blame other people. They blame bad luck. But the truth is this: the world you experience is a reflection of the world you project. If you walk through life anxious, resentful, and defeated, your aura reflects that. And people consciously or unconsciously respond accordingly. They avoid you. They don't trust you. Opportunities pass you by. But if you walk through life with quiet confidence, with purpose, with an inner certainty that you are moving toward something worthwhile, your aura reflects that instead, and the world responds. People are drawn to you. Doors open, circumstances align. This isn't magic, it's law. It's the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, the law of mental radiation, call it what you will. But it works with the precision of mathematics. Here is the central truth. The person you become on the inside determines the life you live on the outside. Now, how do you master your aura? It begins with awareness. You must become conscious of what you are putting out into the world. You must observe yourself not with judgment, but with honesty. What are your dominant thoughts? Are they thoughts of possibility or thoughts of limitation? Are they thoughts of gratitude or thoughts of resentment? Are they thoughts of progress or thoughts of fear? Because I promise you this: whatever you think about most of the time, you become. And whatever you become, you radiate. And whatever you radiate, you attract. So the first step is simple: guard your mind. Think of your mind as a garden. If you let weeds grow thoughts of doubt, anger, envy, self-pity, they will choke out everything else. But if you deliberately plant seeds of confidence, optimism, purpose, and faith, and if you tend that garden daily, you will reap a harvest beyond your wildest imagination. This takes discipline. It takes practice, but it is entirely within your power. The second step is to align your emotions with your goals. You see, it's not enough to think positive thoughts if your heart is heavy with fear or bitterness. Your emotions are the amplifiers of your thoughts. They give your thoughts energy, intensity, power. If you want to project an aura of success, you must feel successful not when success arrives, but now, in this moment, as you move toward it. If you want to project confidence, you must cultivate the feeling of confidence. If you want to attract opportunities, you must carry within you the feeling of expectancy, the quiet certainty that good things are on their way. This doesn't mean pretending, it means choosing. It means deciding consciously and deliberately what emotional state you will inhabit, regardless of external circumstances. And here's the beautiful part: When you do this, when you hold the thought and the feeling of what you want, you begin to embody it. And when you embody it, others sense it. And when others sense it, they respond to it. You become magnetic. The third step is action, consistent, purposeful, disciplined action. Your aura is not built by wishes or affirmations alone. It is built by what you do, day after day, when no one is watching. It is built by the standards you set for yourself, by the promises you keep to yourself, by the integrity with which you live your life. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you set a goal, follow through. If you make a commitment, honor it. Because every time you do, you strengthen your aura. You build confidence. You build self-respect. You build power. And every time you don't, every time you procrastinate, make excuses, settle for less than your best, you weaken it. Your aura is the accumulated energy of your habits. So choose habits that build you up, not tear you down. Choose habits that align with the person you're becoming, not the person you used to be. Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. Have you ever walked away from a conversation, maybe a job interview, maybe a first meeting with someone important, and felt that sinking sensation in your stomach, that gnawing sense that something was off? You said the right words. You wore the right clothes. You smiled at the appropriate moments. But somehow, despite doing everything correctly on the surface, you could feel it, the opportunity slipping away, the connection failing to take hold, the door quietly closing. And here's what troubles most people: they don't know why. They replay the conversation in their minds, searching for the mistake, the wrong word, the misstep, but they can't find it, because the mistake wasn't in what they said, it was in what they radiated. Now, stay with me here, because this is important. You see, there's something happening beneath the surface of every human interaction, something most people never become conscious of, yet something that determines nearly every outcome in their lives. While you're speaking, while you're presenting yourself, while you're trying to make an impression, there's another conversation taking place. A silent one, an invisible one. And that conversation is far more powerful than the words coming out of your mouth. Every thought you've been thinking, not just today, but for weeks, months, years, is stored somewhere inside you. Every belief you hold about yourself, about your worth, about what you deserve, about whether life is fair or unfair, generous or hostile, all of it sits there beneath your conscious awareness. And here's what you must understand: it doesn't stay hidden. It transmits. Think of yourself as a radio station. You're broadcasting a signal every moment of every day, whether you realize it or not. And just as a radio station sends out a frequency that receivers pick up, you are sending out a frequency that every person you encounter picks up unconsciously, instinctively, immediately. If deep down beneath your confident words and polished appearance, you're carrying doubt, if you're thinking, "I'm not really good enough for this," or "they're going to find out I don't belong here," or "I always mess these things up," that frequency goes out. And the person across from you receives it. They don't think this person doubts themselves. They just feel something, a hesitation, an uncertainty, a lack of solidity, and they respond accordingly, usually by withdrawing their trust, their interest, their opportunity. This is what people mean when they say someone has presence or charisma, or when they describe someone as magnetic. They're not talking about physical appearance. They're talking about the signal that person broadcasts. They're talking about the coherence, the confidence, the certainty that radiates from within. And here's the liberating truth, the truth that changes everything. If you've been broadcasting the wrong signal, you can change it. Right now. Today. You don't need to change your circumstances first. You don't need permission. You don't need more credentials or more experience. You need to change what's happening inside you, your dominant thoughts, your underlying beliefs, your habitual emotional state. Because when you change that, the signal changes. And when the signal changes, the responses you get from the world change. Your inner world, the thoughts you entertain, the beliefs you hold, the emotions you cultivate, is constantly expressing itself outward in ways you cannot fake and cannot hide. This is your aura. This is the silent broadcast. And once you understand this, once you truly grasp that people are responding not to your performance, but to your essence, you realize something profound. The power to transform every relationship, every opportunity, every outcome in your life doesn't lie in mastering manipulation or learning clever techniques. It lies in mastering yourself, It lies in taking absolute responsibility for the frequency you're broadcasting. And when you do that, when you deliberately, consciously, consistently cultivate thoughts of confidence, purpose, and possibility, you won't need to convince anyone of anything. They'll feel it the moment you walk in the room. Picture this for a moment. You're lying in bed at 3 in the morning, wide awake. Your mind is racing. Tomorrow's that important presentation, that crucial meeting, that conversation you've been dreading. And instead of sleeping, instead of resting, you're running through every possible disaster. You see yourself stumbling over your words. You imagine the blank stares, the awkward silence, the rejection. You replay past failures, past embarrassments, past moments when things didn't go your way. And by the time morning comes, you're exhausted before you even begin. Sound familiar? Now, here's what happens next. You walk into that room, that boardroom, that office, that opportunity, and despite your best efforts to appear confident, despite the rehearsed smile and the firm handshake, something feels hollow. Your words lack conviction, your presence lacks weight, and somehow, incredibly, the very thing you feared, the very disaster you spent all night imagining begins to unfold before your eyes. And you think it's bad luck. You think it's coincidence. You think, see, I knew this would happen. But let me stop you right there, because something far more significant is at work. Here's what most people never realize. Your mind is not a passive observer. It's not sitting up there in your skull, innocently watching life happen. Your mind is a creator. It's a workshop, a factory, a generator of reality. And whatever blueprints you feed it, whatever images, whatever expectations, whatever beliefs you hold there consistently, those are the plans it follows. Those are the structures it builds. When you spend your mental energy rehearsing failure, you're not just worrying, you're practicing. You're training your nervous system, your body, your entire being to perform failure. You're building neural pathways that make anxiety your default response. You're programming yourself, thought by thought, image by image, to embody exactly what you don't want. And then, and this is the crucial part, you project that into the world. You broadcast it. Your uncertainty, your fear, your expectation of failure becomes the atmosphere you carry with you. People sense it. They respond to it. Not because they're judging you, but because they're receiving the signal you're transmitting. Now here's the other side of this coin, and this is where everything changes. If your mind can be used to rehearse disaster, it can also be used to rehearse triumph. If your thoughts can create an atmosphere of defeat, they can just as easily create an atmosphere of victory. Because the principle works both ways. The law doesn't discriminate. It simply responds to what you feed it. Imagine instead that you spend those quiet moments, those early mornings, those evening reflections, holding a different picture in your mind. You see yourself speaking with clarity and confidence. You see people responding positively, leaning in, engaged. You see doors opening. You see yourself succeeding not because you're pretending, but because you're preparing. You're giving your mind the right blueprint. You're rehearsing success the same way an athlete rehearses performance, the same way an actor rehearses their role. And something remarkable happens. When the moment arrives, you're not scrambling to become confident, you already are. Because confidence isn't something you manufacture in the moment. It's something you've been cultivating in the privacy of your thoughts. It's something you've built, day after day, thought after thought, until it becomes your natural state. Your mind is the most valuable real estate you'll ever own. And right now, in this moment, you're the landlord. You decide what gets to occupy that space. You decide whether you're going to rent it out to doubt, fear, and negativity, or whether you're going to fill it with thoughts of capability, purpose, and progress. Guard it like your life depends on it, because in every meaningful way it does. The thoughts you allow to dominate your mind today are shaping the reality you'll experience tomorrow. Not metaphorically, literally. They're shaping your energy, your decisions, your presence, your aura. So choose them carefully. Choose them deliberately. Because what you hold in your mind, you will inevitably project into the world. And what you project into the world determines everything that comes back to you. This is not philosophy. This is not positive thinking nonsense. This is law. And once you understand it, once you truly grasp that your thoughts are the architects of your reality, you'll never look at your inner world the same way again. You'll protect it. You'll cultivate it. And you'll watch as the outer world begins to mirror back exactly what you've been building within. I wonder if you've noticed something troubling about your life. Maybe you've worked hard, really hard, put in the hours, done everything you were supposed to do. You've sent out the resumes, made the calls, attended the networking events, said yes to the opportunities. You've shown up. You've been reliable. You've been competent. And yet somehow, inexplicably, the big breaks keep going to other people. The promotions, the partnerships, the lucky coincidences, they seem to find everyone but you. And what's worse, the people getting these breaks aren't always more talented than you. They're not always smarter. They're not always working harder. Sometimes they're working less. Sometimes they seem to glide through life while you're grinding, struggling, pushing uphill every single day. And you start to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why do good things happen so easily for them and so rarely for me? Is the game rigged? Am I cursed? Am I simply unlucky? Hold that thought. Don't draw any conclusions yet, because what I'm about to tell you will completely reframe how you see this situation. There's a principle at work in the universe, not a mystical one, but a practical, observable one that governs human relationships, opportunities, and outcomes. It's simple, elegant, and absolutely ruthless in its precision. And once you understand it, everything changes. Here it is, like attracts like. The energy you carry within you, your dominant emotional state, your habitual frequency, the atmosphere you generate acts as a magnet. It doesn't attract what you want. It doesn't attract what you wish for or hope for or pray for. It attracts what matches it. It attracts its equivalent. If you move through the world carrying frustration, resentment, and scarcity, you will magnetize people and circumstances that reflect frustration, resentment, and scarcity. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because that's the signal you're broadcasting. That's the frequency you're on. And the world, like a faithful radio receiver, picks up that frequency and responds in kind. Think about it. When you're in a negative state, when you're irritable, anxious, desperate, who do you attract? Other people who are irritable, anxious, desperate. What opportunities come your way? The ones that feel heavy, obligatory, draining. What results do you get? Exactly the results that match your inner state. But here's where this gets interesting, where this stops being a problem and starts being the solution. The same principle that's been working against you can work for you. The same magnetic law that attracts difficulty can attract success if you change the signal. If you change what you're broadcasting, you change what you receive. When you cultivate an inner state of confidence, not arrogance, but genuine self-assurance, you begin to attract confident people. When you carry gratitude instead of grievance, you attract generous circumstances. When you operate from abundance rather than scarcity, abundance finds you. This isn't wishful thinking. This is pattern recognition. Successful people attract successful people. Optimistic people find themselves in uplifting environments. People who expect good things consistently encounter them, not because they're lucky, but because their energy is tuned to that frequency. You've seen this yourself. You know someone, maybe you've been that someone who's going through a rough patch, feeling down, feeling stuck. And during that time, what happens? More things go wrong. More disappointments pile up. It feels like the universe is conspiring against them. Then something shifts. Maybe they make a decision. Maybe they let go of something they were holding on to. Maybe they just decide they're done being miserable. And suddenly, almost miraculously, things start turning around. New opportunities appear. Old problems resolve themselves. The right people show up at the right time. What changed? Not their circumstances, not their luck. Their energy changed. And when their energy changed, the world responded. Here's what this means for you right now, today. You don't have to wait for your circumstances to improve before you can change your energy. In fact, it works the other way around. You change your energy first, and your circumstances follow. You want better opportunities. Become the kind of person who radiates readiness, capability, and enthusiasm. You want deeper relationships. Become someone who emanates warmth, authenticity, and genuine interest in others. You want financial abundance. Cultivate the consciousness of abundance, gratitude for what you have, confidence in your ability to create value, generosity with what you can give. The people you want to meet, the opportunities you want to encounter, the life you want to live, they're all operating on a certain frequency. And until you match that frequency, they'll remain out of reach. Not because you're unworthy, but because you're out of tune. So tune yourself. Adjust your inner station. Choose the energy you want to carry, and carry it consistently. regardless of current conditions. And watch how the world, as if by magic, though it's not magic at all, begins bringing you exactly what you've become ready to receive. Let me tell you about the most dangerous position a person can occupy. It's not poverty, though poverty is difficult. It's not failure, though failure is painful. The most dangerous position, the one that traps more people than any other, is the position of being completely unaware of why things aren't working, of going through life convinced you're doing everything right, while somehow, mysteriously, the results never come. You work hard, but you don't advance. You're friendly, but people keep their distance. You genuinely try, but the success you see others achieve remains perpetually out of reach. And the worst part, you have no idea why. You look around, you compare yourself to others, and you can't identify the difference. They don't seem smarter than you. They're not working harder than you. Yet they're succeeding, and you're stuck. And because you can't see the problem, you can't fix it. You're driving with your eyes closed, wondering why you keep hitting obstacles. This, my friend, is the trap, and millions of people live their entire lives in it. But before you get discouraged, let me tell you something important. There's a reason you haven't been able to see what's holding you back, and it's not because you're deficient or broken or beyond help. It's simply because nobody taught you to look. Nobody taught you that the greatest power you possess isn't the power to change circumstances, it's the power to observe yourself. To step back, like a scientist examining a specimen, and study your own patterns, your own habits, your own unconscious behaviors. Most people are sleepwalking through their lives. They react instead of respond. They repeat patterns without recognizing them. They carry the same limiting beliefs, the same self-defeating thoughts, the same energy-draining emotions day after day, year after year, and they wonder why life feels like an endless loop. But here's what changes everything. The moment you become aware of something, you gain power over it. Think about it. A bad habit only controls you as long as it's unconscious. The moment you catch yourself in the act, there I go again, thinking negatively. Or, I just interrupted them because I'm anxious. Or, I'm shrinking in this conversation because I don't feel worthy. That's the moment the habit begins to lose its grip, because awareness creates a gap, a space, a choice, and in that space change becomes possible. This is why self-observation is the foundation of all personal transformation. You cannot change what you cannot see. You cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot master your aura, your energy, your presence, your impact until you become willing to honestly examine what you're currently projecting. And here's the beautiful part, you don't need a therapist to do this. You don't need years of analysis. You simply need to pay attention. To watch yourself the way you'd watch a character in a film. To notice your patterns without judgment, without shame, without defense. When do you feel most confident? When does your energy drop? What thoughts run through your mind before important moments? How do you carry yourself when you're alone versus when others are watching? What do you believe about yourself, deep down, when nobody's listening? Start asking these questions. Start observing. Because the moment you begin to see yourself clearly, really see yourself, not the version you wish existed or the version you present to others, but the actual person operating beneath the surface, everything shifts. You'll catch yourself sabotaging opportunities before they slip away. You'll notice the negative thought patterns before they spiral into anxiety. You'll recognize the moments when you're radiating confidence versus when you're faking it. And most importantly, you'll start to understand the why behind your results. Why certain people are drawn to you and others aren't. Why some opportunities materialize and others vanish. Why sometimes you feel unstoppable and other times you feel invisible. It's all there in your patterns, in your habits, in the unconscious ways you move through the world. And the moment you make the unconscious conscious, the moment you shine light on these patterns, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of circumstances you don't understand. You stop blaming luck or other people or timing. Because you see clearly and undeniably that you've been creating your reality all along, not deliberately, but unconsciously. And if you've been creating it unconsciously, imagine what you can create when you do it consciously. So start today, right now. Become the observer of your own life. Watch yourself with curiosity, with compassion, with scientific precision. Notice what you're projecting. Notice what you're attracting. Notice the gap between who you think you are and who you're actually being. This is where mastery begins. Not in the changing, but in the seeing. Because once you can see it changing, it becomes inevitable. I need to tell you something that might discourage you at first. You're going to hear this message today, this idea about mastering your aura, about transforming your energy, about becoming magnetic, and you're going to feel inspired. You're going to feel excited. You're going to think, yes, this is it. This is what I've been missing. And tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up with resolve. You're going to decide to think better thoughts. Project better energy. Become that person you know you can be. And then a week from now, maybe 2 weeks from now, you're going to look around and notice that nothing has changed. Your life looks the same. The same people, the same circumstances, the same frustrations. And you're going to feel that familiar sinking sensation, the one that whispers, "See, it doesn't work. Nothing ever works. You're stuck. And you're always going to be stuck." And right there, in that moment of disappointment, you'll be standing at the most critical crossroads of your entire journey. Now, before you let that discourage you, let me tell you what's actually happening, because what you're experiencing isn't failure. It's not evidence that the principles don't work. It's simply the natural lag between cause and effect. It's the inevitable gap between planting and harvesting. And if you don't understand this gap, if you expect immediate results, you'll quit right before the miracle happens. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear, but everyone needs to understand: lasting transformation doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in 10,000 moments, accumulated over time. Your current aura, the energy you project right now, the presence you carry, the way people respond to you wasn't created yesterday. It was built over years. Every thought you've habitually thought, every emotion you've repeatedly felt, every action you've consistently taken has been laying down layers, like sediment at the bottom of a river, building the person you are today. And if it took years to build what you currently are, it's going to take time to build what you want to become. But here's what makes this bearable, what makes it not just possible but inevitable. You don't need to make enormous changes. You don't need to completely overhaul your personality overnight. You just need to do small things, daily, with consistency. Because transformation doesn't happen through dramatic gestures. It happens through humble repetition. Think of it like this. If you wanted to build physical strength, you wouldn't walk into a gym once, lift weights for 5 hours, and expect to walk out muscular. That's absurd. You'd injure yourself. No, you'd go to the gym regularly, lift a reasonable amount, rest, and return, day after day, week after week. And slowly, so slowly you might not notice it at first, you'd get stronger. The change would be imperceptible on any single day, but undeniable over months. Your aura works the same way. Every time you catch a negative thought and replace it with a constructive one, you're building strength. Every time you choose confidence over doubt, even when you don't feel like it, you're adding another layer. Every time you hold yourself to a higher standard, keeping a promise to yourself, showing up with discipline, acting with integrity when nobody's watching, you're reinforcing the foundation. And here's what happens: these small, daily choices compound. They build on each other. They create momentum. What felt difficult in week 1 becomes easier in week 4. What required conscious effort in month 1 becomes automatic in month 3. You're not just building habits, you're rebuilding your identity, your default frequency, your automatic way of being. Most people quit because they judge their progress too soon. They expect to see massive changes after a week of effort. But a week is nothing. A week is a single brushstroke on a masterpiece that takes months to complete. The question isn't whether you can maintain perfect positivity for one day. The question is, can you show up tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that? Can you commit to the daily practice of guarding your thoughts, cultivating your emotions, taking aligned action especially when you don't see immediate results? Because if you can trust the process long enough for the compound effect to kick in, something remarkable happens. 6 months from now, a year from now, you'll look back and barely recognize the person you were. The thoughts that used to dominate your mind will seem foreign. The energy that used to drain you will have transformed. The presence you carry will have fundamentally shifted, and people will notice. They won't be able to explain it, but they'll feel it. They'll respond to you differently. Opportunities will appear that weren't there before. Not because the world changed, but because you changed. Slowly, steadily, daily. So when you wake up tomorrow inspired to change, don't expect a miracle. Expect to do the work, and then do it again the next day, and the next. Not perfectly, you'll stumble, you'll forget, you'll slip back into old patterns. That's fine. What matters isn't perfection. What matters is returning. What matters is consistency over time. Your aura isn't built in a moment of inspiration. It's built in the unglamorous, unsexy, daily choice to become, bit by bit, the person you're committed to being. And that person, that unstoppable version of yourself, they're not waiting for you in some distant future. They're being built right now, today, in this moment, by the choice you're making to show up and do the work. Again and again and again. Now, let me tell you what happens when you master your aura. You stop needing approval. You stop fearing rejection. You stop waiting for permission. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with quiet authority. You carry yourself with a calm, unshakable confidence that others can feel. You attract the right people, mentors, allies, partners who recognize something in you and want to help you rise. You attract opportunities not because you're lucky, but because you're ready. Because your energy says, I am someone who can be trusted with responsibility. I am someone who delivers. I am someone who is going places. And most importantly, you become unstoppable. Not because nothing can stop you. Life will always bring challenges, but because your inner state is no longer dependent on outer circumstances. You carry your power within you. Let me leave you with this. There are two kinds of people in this world. The first kind drifts through life, reacting, complaining, hoping that someday things will get better. The second kind takes control. They decide who they will be. They cultivate their thoughts, their emotions, their habits. They build an aura of strength, purpose, and possibility. And they watch as the world begins to rearrange itself around them. Which kind will you be? You have a choice. And that choice begins today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect. Today. Your aura is being built right now, in this very moment, by the thoughts you're thinking, the emotions you're feeling, the decisions you're making. So decide. Decide to master your inner world. Decide to project confidence, purpose, and power. Decide to become the kind of person who attracts success, respect, and opportunity, not by demanding it, but by embodying it. The law is working whether you believe in it or not. The question is, will you use it or will you let it use you? Go now. Guard your thoughts. Cultivate your emotions. Take action. Build your aura brick by brick, day by day, and watch as you become unstoppable. This is Earl Nightingale. Thank you for listening.